Okay, so I'll just move on. Yeah, so we have, like I said, there are four chapters for your substantive procedures. Introduction, substantive procedures, non-current assets, current assets, then substantive procedures for other aspects of your financial statement that do not fall under the category. So the plan this class is to actually take this introduction to substantive procedure as well as substantive procedure for other areas. Okay, now this chapter of your audit and forensic, like your skills audit, it has a theory around passing it, because the thing is that this chapter talks about procedure. You want to audit you want to audit cash and bank balance. What do you do? So there's a procedure behind it. The way to properly go around this chapter is not just by cramming all the procedures. You would get overworked when you're trying to cram all the procedures. But if you pay attention, as we talk in class, we have two categories. If what you're trying to carry out substantive procedures on is an SOFP item, that means it is a statement of financial position item. There are some procedures that have been outlined for you to follow. And if what you're trying to audit is a income statement item, there are some outlined procedures under assertions that guides you on what your procedure should look like. So yes, it can be a relatively long chapter. When you look at your actual pack, you're just like, from this chapter 9, chapter 10, what are these people just saying? And when you look at your past questions, you see it as number one question, number two question. They put other chapters as part of the number one question, but you can see them allocating like 20 marks, 15 marks to procedures, and students are like, oh, I don't know it. But if you hack the right way to answer the questions, you'll be fine. Okay, so let's just move on. What is the substantive procedure? A substantive procedures are audit procedures that are performed to detect material misstatements on presentation disclosures reported on your financial statements. While analytical procedures combines your test of details, while when analytical procedure is combined with test of detail, it is substantive procedure. So what is an analytical procedure? From your audit evidence, analytical procedures are done to check for the plausible relationship that exists between data. So your ratios, your trends, understanding the how your revenue was increasing and it also led to an increase in the cost of your goods sold and all of that. Understanding that relationship is analytical procedure. What is test of detail? Test of detail. So we have two types of tests. We have test of control and test of detail. Test of control is to check whether the proper control procedures are being followed before any transaction is, well, while processing any transaction. While test of detail is done simply because you have realized that the test of control is relatively low and you cannot really rely on the figures or on the internal control system of that client that you are auditing. So you have to do a detailed test of their transactions to check if any material misstatements exist in it. So basically, you start to use your substantive procedures when, to a large extent, the internal control of that entity is relatively weak. And I was saying it that a lot of the big fours in Nigeria, their initial assumption is that internal control will not be intact in this organization. So they always resort to carrying out what substantive procedure. It's just a more detailed test. Now, there are evidences generated to gather evidence about the financial statement assertions, which are test of details on your transactions, on your account balances, on disclosures that you have made on the financial statements. Well, how do you do this? You carry out analytical procedure. So ISA 330 requires that whatever level of substantive procedure is carried out, the auditor, whatever level of substantive procedure is carried out, the auditor carrying out the substantive procedure must make sure that he agrees and reconciles the financial statements, he examines journals and examines other adjustments. So if you have ever been part of an audit process, as a result of this substantive test, the auditors will now have journals that they expect you to pass on the financial statements to put it at the correct position following their audits. And is supposed to be in a way that it reconciles the statements. Things like, oh, your TB is not balancing, all of that. So that is the end goal of substantive procedure. It's not because the auditor just wants to stress himself. No, he wants to make sure that every level of material misstatement that can exist in the financial statement has been corrected to a large extent, simply because we are seeing a high level of control risks. Now, this is a very, very important part of this chapter. What are assertions? Assertions are claims that are being made on the financial statements. Okay? Assertions are claims that are being made on the what? On the financial statements. So when you have a management account, before you audit it at all, the figures that are on that financial statements are basically assertions. So what is the auditor doing? He's obtaining evidences to ensure that he is able to form an opinion as to the financial statements. So he's looking for support evidence to prove the financial statement assertions. You have said your cash balance is 52 million. He needs to make sure that he does like a bank confirmation. I'm referencing your audit evidence now. He needs to make sure that he has done bank confirmation that shows him that yes, this 52 million exists in Kugbagidi Bank as at the end of the FY, as the financial statement has asserted. Okay? So in order to do this, the auditor has to look for support evidence that supports the financial statements. These assertions that are made in the financial statement by directors of the company. Like I told you, the directors have made claims that, oh, this is what our PPE figure is. This is what this is. Okay, and basically the auditor is having to prove those what assertions. Now, financial statement assertions fall into three categories. This one's actually kind of confusing. So let me explain it in a simple way. Your financial statement assertions, they're divided into two. You have your SOFP assertions and you have your income statement assertions. Okay? So you have assertions for your income statements. So class financial that follow your income statement. Then we have assertions for your financial position. Okay, now I'm going to start with your assertions for financial position, because if you know your assertion for financial position, then you already know the correct answer. You already know both of them. So I'm just going to put a text here. Now the acronym is called, do I have a class? Are you guys still listening to me? The acronym is called CVOPC. CVOP. Hoping it's correct. The spelling is correct. But yeah, so the acronym for your the acronym is called what? CVOPC. While the acronym for your income, let's just move in. Oh wow, okay, it's on the screen. So the acronym is called CVOPC, while the acronym for your income statements is extracted from this CVOPC as POCA. So we call it POCA. POCA. Okay, so just stay with me. Okay, so let's do CVOPC first. Yeah. Now, every item on your statement of financial position has met up with the CVOPC assertion criteria. Okay. Now, what is CVOPC? The first C here is, this is, you know, there are two C's, so the last C is actually raised to power 2. But the first C here is completeness. Completeness means that no transactions, either your asset, liability, equity, everything that falls under your SOFP must have been omitted. Completeness is to make sure that everything that happened within that financial year has been properly captured. That's C. E is existence. Existence is used to prove that whatever they've put in that financial statement actually exists. Now, most of your SOFP items are things that you can see and hold. Your assets you can see and hold. Your inventory you can see and hold. So one of the reasons why you do inventory count is to prove the existence. One of the reasons why you do assets confirmation is to prove the existence. Do you understand? Then we have A. A is what? Accuracy. So you have it here, accuracy. Now, accuracy is basically just proving mathematical accuracy. So as an accountant or as an auditor, is in a way that when somebody gives you a financial statement, don't say that because it is a formularized Excel, the figures will definitely be correct. I mean, if you have ever been working on an Excel and then you're supposed to add up row 8 to 10, and then for some reason you just add up, you're supposed to add up row 8 to 32, and you just stop adding up at row 30. So the last two have not been considered. So that is basically what you are doing with what? Accuracy. You are checking that what? The mathematical accuracy or the basically like the mathematics behind the figures are also intact. Okay? Then we have V, valuation. Valuation is used to put figures on your SOFP item. Now, you know inventory, now you have historical cost, or you can use net realizable, what's the other one? Or your net realizable value, abi NRV. Okay, so your PPE too, you can use historical cost, or you can use what? The present value of that asset in the market. So valuation is just ensuring that there is alignment with how the company has chosen to put amounts on your SOFP items, how they've chosen to value those SOFP items, that there is consistency. You cannot say last year you were using historical cost, now you are changing to fair value because the fair value is better if it gives you more money in the current year. Okay, there must be consistency in the application of their valuation. Then we have O. O, in this case, the O2 is raised to power 2. I think I'll have to edit this. How do I do that now? No, I can't edit. Okay, but just know that your O is raised to power 2, this C2 is raised to power 2. Now, O, the first thing we have under O is occurrence. Occurrence is making sure that everything that happens is being properly captured. Okay, no, everything that is occurrence is moving from your sheet to your floor. So that is making sure that everything that was recorded was what actually happened. So they're not just going to be giving you assets. They're like, where is this asset? Or they're just giving you sales balance. Where is where is the goods delivery note? Where is the document that actually show me that this thing actually happened? That is what occurrence. Then we have another O. This O is called ownership, in bracket, rights or obligation. Now, you know we're talking about SOFP item. So SOFP item can either be an asset or a liability or equity, right? So asset is you have a certain level. Why is something an asset to you? It's because you have a usage right over that, like it can be a resource, it can be a tool for your administrative production or functional reason. You understand? For your business, that is what a right. And why is something a liability? Is because there's an existing obligation to carry out that particular service. That is why it is what? That is why it is an obligation. Okay, that is why it is what? An obligation. So either it is a right or an obligation, they must show ownership of an asset or obligation of a liability before you can record it in your SOFP. Can somebody, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we also have P. Now, this CVOP C, P is presentation. Presentation simply talks about ensuring that the right like templates is being followed when you are preparing your financial statements. Now, in the US, they prepare their financial statements from the most liquid assets to the least liquid assets. So, in Nigeria, when you go to our financial statements, when you see the first line, what do you see? PPE, right? And then you now see other ones, and you see cash and bank, Abby, in the last line before you start seeing liabilities. In the US, using the US GAAP, in the US, using the US GAAP, they list out their most liquid assets. So when they are listing out their own assets, the first asset they list out is cash. And it is on the premise that if you have a current problem right now, what is going to solve that problem for you? Even if you have an asset that you have written down and its value is 5 billion and you need 20 naira, do you know how much timing that is required to sell off that 5 billion naira assets? When I teach, I like people to speak back to me. Hello. Do you know how much time, how much paperwork, how much legal procedure will be needed before you can sell off that 5 billion assets? So it is on that basis that they believe that what assets that you have should be listed in the way that it can solve any of your current liability. That's the way they present their own financial statements. However, the way we present our own using the International Financial Reporting Standard is what? Is that you use your heaviest assets the most from PPE, and then you move to your cash and bank balance. So you don't want to see things like revenue in your SOFP. Revenue cannot be what? An SOFP item. It's not under the flow of presentation. Expenses cannot be an SOFP item. You can't carry OCI and put it under SOFP. You understand? So just making sure that what the presentation of your financial statements aligns with what the requirements of the International Financial Reporting Standard. Then we have C. Now, the last C is also divided into two. We have classification and then we have cutoff. Classification is making sure that every item in your SOFP and in your SOFP are properly classified in their relevant subheads. Okay, so cash and bank balance, it is assets. It's supposed to be classified under assets. You should not have your cash and bank balance under what? Revenue. So presentation is what is the standard? Classification is has it been properly classified into what? The relevant subheads. She gets. Okay. Now the last C is also cutoff. Cutoff is more applicable in your income statements. Now this is where students find it difficult. You see this CVOP, everything from your income statement comes out from your CVOP. Do you understand me? So I'm going to ask you. Now, we said completeness is to make sure that everything that happened was being recorded. Is it only SOFP items that should be complete? Please, I will need response. This topic is easy, but if you don't respond, we're going to struggle. Is it only SOFP item that should be complete?
No.
So definitely the C in completeness is in SOFP as much as it's in the income statement. Do you get the logic? Now, E, existence. I told you that existence is to prove the physical availability of something. Okay? Now, that is possible for things like your assets, things like your cash, things like your inventory, you can see it. But can you use your eye to see revenue? Can you use your eye to see revenue? Can you use your eye to see expense? Can you see somebody wrote transport expense? Can you see the expense?
No, we can't.
Okay, so existence does not fall under
Well,
what? Eh?
um, in cases where they have receipts,
Yes, so receipt is just to prove that the expense occurred. So the receipt will show occurrence, but it doesn't show existence, because if you want to prove transport, you now hold down the Uber that carried you and say, you will not go. I need to show my boss that I actually entered Uber. That's basically what we are trying to show in existence. So existence does not fall under income statement item because you cannot prove the existence of an income statement item. You can only show that it occurred. Next is accuracy. And I said accuracy is typically just your what? Mathematical accuracy. So is it only your SOFP item that should have mathematical accuracy?
No.
So definitely your accuracy is also in what? Income statement. The next one is B, is V, valuation. I told you valuation is having a firm framework behind the numbers that you put on your SOFP. Now, is there anything in your income statement that is in quotes a valuation number? No. It is your SOFP that has inventory, that has PPE, that has intangible assets. Those are the things that you value. You place a value on. Do you value your expenses? No. It is the amount that came in that comes in. Do you value your income to say, okay, this is the value of this income? So I will not put the amount that actually came in, I'll put the value of the income. Is that what you do? No. So valuation does not fall in your income statement. So we already had this O for income statement, which is occurrence. Occurrence is to make sure that everything that you have recorded actually happened. So you have put an expense, transportation, logistics, 52 million. You want to be able to see receipt of the trip that totals, or even not total, gives you a substantial evidence that this amount of trips happened, and yes, it can actually total to this 52 million that we have written. That is occurrence. So occurrence falls under your income statement as well as your what? SOFP. Then what do we have? We have presentation. It is not only your standard, it's not only your SOFP, even your income statement should be properly what? Presented. Now this C is also 2. Classification 2 applies. You want to make sure that what? Everything is being recorded in the relevant what? Everything is being recorded in the what? In the relevant subheads. And then we have another C, which I talk about, which was cutoff. Now, cutoff only applies to income statement. Why? Cutoff is timing specific. So cutoff says that ensure that transactions that are being reported are the ones that happened in that financial year. Ensure that transactions that are being reported are the ones that happened in what? In that financial year. Because your income statement is for the year ended. Okay? Then SOFP is what? As at. So from the gogoro of the company till their current day, that is what? SOFP. But income statement is for the year ended. So from the beginning of the FY, from the beginning of the FY till the end of the FY. Okay? So can somebody explain? We extracted this poker. Let me just try and erase this. Okay, I'm coming. Ogechi. So can somebody explain this extraction of poker? Okay, I could have just used this one. I prefer this text. POC. Okay. So can somebody explain this poker as an extraction of CVOPC for your income statement item? Before we answer Ogechi's question. Please now, you guys have had a long day. We are all here together. Me too, I had multiple meetings today. Answer me, let's get this rolling. Okay, Chi, ask your question.
Hello.
I'm with you. If you are speaking, you don't need to wait for me. Just start speaking.
I
Okay,
just want
Amoto, I
to say,
wanted to say something. I heard his voice.
yeah.
Okay,
All
Is it
I
that
wanted to,
somebody is speaking and I can't hear?
can you hear me, ma?
Yes, I just heard you now.
Yeah. I joined the class within, so until like this, when I go through the
I
listening
can't
to
hear
the
you
topic when
anymore.
you started, I say, hello. Can you hear me now?
Wow.
Hello. 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 Hello.
I don't know if it's me or yours, but I'm sure I didn't hear anything you said.
What about now? Can you hear me, ma?
I just heard you now. Yeah.
Yeah, I said I joined the class in between. So I think the analysis you did
The
concerning
network is
this
acting up. I
is,
don't know if it's just me, but if you joined late, please, you can go to the recording again. Yeah, preferably.
what about now, ma?
Can you guys hear him? It's
yeah,
not
I can hear
working
him very
or
well.
Yes, I can hear him.
oh, okay, please can somebody say what he's saying because I'm struggling to hear him.
I think he
Okay,
said
he said
something
he
about
joined
joining late.
the class in
Or
between, so until he has to go through the record before, maybe before he can say something. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll just assume that is my network because I'm not hearing anybody.
Yes, that's what I mean. I have to go through the recording to hear how you did the analysis. So I
Okay.
can't really,
So can somebody
yeah.
explain poker from
okay, I think the P means presentation. Hello?
what'd you say?
I said P in poker means presentation.
Hmm. I don't know, I can't hear anybody.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just heard you now.
Okay, so the P in poker means presentation.
Okay.
Then O means occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
Then C means classification. And then A is accuracy.
What? Okay, thank you. But C is raised to power 2 for income statements. What's the next one?
Cut off two.
Okay. Thank you so much, Emanuela. Thank you. So I like that you know the meaning, but the end of it is to use it to know the procedures. Okay?
Okay.
So before we go further, let me give you guys a classic example. You are an auditor of XYZ Limited and you have been required to audit the cash and bank balance. No, let's not even say cash and bank balance. The cash balance of Gbogbo Tigbo enterprise as at 21st September. How do you answer this question? The first thing you are asking yourself is that this cash balance that I'm trying to check, is it an SOFP item or is it an income statement item? The moment you identify that as an SOFP item, you know that your CVOPC will apply. Or the moment you identify that as an income statement item, you know that your POCA will apply. Now, if your CVOPC is applying, you will now turn your CVOPC into audit procedures. Number one, completeness. From completeness, you can get more than one procedure. Confirm that all the cash transactions that happened between that financial year has been properly captured, recognized, and signed off. Are you with me? That is what checking for completeness. Number two, confirm that segregation of duty applies in receiving cash and recording cash balances on a daily basis. That's another procedure. Number three, confirm that the cash balance written down in the SOFP tallies with the cash in the safe. All those procedures are checking for what? Completeness. She gets. existence. It can be similar. Existence also used to prove that the cash exists, Abi. So what I said about confirming that the cash balance exists in the safe is more about existence. Is proving that this thing that I'm talking about is in existence in this company. But I'm just trying to tell you that it is to think about the assertion and the procedure you will perform to confirm that that assertion criteria has been met. So next we have A. A is accuracy. They will tell you, do a recalculate the figures that were computed to give the what? The cash balance as of that date. Okay? Or do a overhaul of imputing the cash figures on a daily basis and cross-checking your calculations as against the figure that was provided by the entity. Can you guys get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
So now the reason why what I'm really emphasizing on it is that after we leave these assertions, we're going to go into the statements one by one. And that's where students have issues. Students believe that they are supposed to cram all the procedures, but you can't shine. You can't do well. And people will tell you that audit is hard. I don't like audits. You can't do well by cramming all the audit procedure. That's not going to work. So you know that you want to prove arithmetical accuracy. You are asking yourself, if somebody give me a Excel of a figure and I want to prove mathematical accuracy, what will I do? And that basically gives you your procedure. Valuation. Confirm that the policy that was used in applying a figure on the financial statement has been consistently applied over time. Confirm that if there was any change, it was duly approved by the board and it was not done out of what? The fact that out of it paying management in the short run. Okay, that is what you checking for what valuation. So it goes on and on and on for occurrence, for presentation, for classification, and then for what if it is income statement for cutoff. So you just need to know the meaning of the assertion and tell yourself that if I'm the auditor in this instance, what do I do to prove this assertion from the figure that has been given to me in the financial statements? Do you guys get me?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you a tricky question. If you were asked to prove validity of payroll, you should do audit procedure for payroll. Which assertion are you using?
Sorry, when you say
I think
assertion, you mean like
analytical assessment.
Hmm? When you say which category of assertion are you using? Is it income statement or SOFP? That's what I mean.
That should be income statement.
Is income statement. There's no
Okay.
financial position.
Income statement. If I say you should do audit procedures for investments, which assertion?
Is financial position.
FP.
Mhm. If they say you should do for inventory, which one?
Is
SOF.
financial position.
So I'm just basically saying, at least if you don't believe what I'm saying, I've taught audit since 2019, and I'm telling you that it is an easier way to go about this. Read your first your first 5 chapters, your first 6 chapters, all those remaining chapters. Read it very well. When it comes to this chapter, you want to know your audit procedures, but instead of cramming it, understand the assertions. If you are being given a question, ask yourself, if I'm the auditor, what are the procedures I would do to prove these assertions? And nobody will take your mark away from you. So let's just move on, okay? This recording that I just did, in case you didn't get it, I tried to break it down as much as possible. So just go and re-listen to the voice notes. Okay? And I was going to say that you people are not harnessing these classes enough. I've gotten like 2 or 3 DMs from LinkedIn of people that say, "Oh, I listened to your recording of this topic from Equity Professional," and I'm like, "Wow, like that's really good." So I know that the classes I don't like overly long classes where I just sit people down for a long time. No, but just make sure that you are helping the students to see what they need to be able to pass through that course. Okay? So if you have any question, you are confused about the assertion, just wait till they upload the video and then play the first um 25 minutes of this class. Just play it in silence. You understand. Okay, moving on, because we have been on page 1 since. So like I was telling you, the following chapters will now be describing various types of substantive procedures that the auditor may carry out. So I'm reading this. In your exam, you might be asked to suggest what substantive procedures ought to be carried out in a particular situation. Each accounting system and business is different, and the substantive procedures that will apply in one situation may be inappropriate for another. Like now, can you apply the same assertion for revenue for assets? Can you?
No, no, no.
So definitely the substantive procedures might be inappropriate from one situation to another. What you need to be able to do is to apply the general principle of your substantive test or business described. So, e.g., one possible approach of deriving your test of detail is to check for the plausible relationship. Number one, what are you asked to test? Number two, ensure you obtain audit evidence. So if you notice, when you are trying to ask these questions for your assertions, it leads to audit evidence. So we're trying to check completeness on cash, and we say ensure that all cash transactions that happened between January and December that were recorded have been properly signed off. So what do? They will have to show you receipts of cash transactions that were signed off. Proving every assertion leads to a requirement, or leads to like you asking your clients for audit evidences. Valuation, check whether there's consistency in the procedures that have been applied. If there was any change, make sure that there was a board resolution. Make sure that there was proper processing in the application of this new accounting policy. So when you are answering these assertions, it leads to your clients having to give you more audit evidence. Okay? So you may be asked to test for things like overstatements, understatements. That one you use things like your mathematical accuracy and also valuation on a particular item. So moving on, they said number 2, note that when you are testing, think about the financial statement assertions. I told you, which of them do you want to test? Number 2, what system does the entity operate? What documents exist? Think about the system that has been given to you. Number 3, what special tests are used for this area? So a bonus point that's like where students have issues is that, so, if they are giving you payroll, when you are testing for completeness for payroll, you have to add things like ensure that all statutorily required deductions for the year has been properly done. Are you with me? Then when you are checking for inventory, ensure that all inventory changes, obsolescence, damage, wear and tear on inventory has been properly captured. Are you talking to me? Hello? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Can
so
hear
what I'm saying
you.
is that when I was talking about inventory, I use things like wear and tear, obsolescence, terminologies relating to inventory. When I was talking about cash and bank, I use things that were, when I was talking about payroll, I use terminologies that were related to payroll, statutory deductions, new joiners and leavers, new joiners and leavers, employee benefits, terminologies that relate to the procedures that you're talking about. So even if I say don't cram the procedure, it does not mean that when you now want to talk, number one, confirm the completeness, confirm the existence. Do you know that just saying confirm the completeness, confirm the existence is not a procedure? Like now, I'm asking you that, how do you want to win? You now say, I will fight and win. That's what an assertion is. How do you want to win? When I get to the battle, I will now tie my shoe. I'll make my opponent to feel like my shoe is not good. He will now be distracted and be laughing at me. When he's laughing at me, I'll now hold his leg and hit him on the ground. That's how we win. That is procedure. Do you guys understand me? So that's why when they ask you for this procedure, the answer is not to write the assertions, but to break down the assertions into the relevant questions that, in proving those assertions, you have to ask the client. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here, they talk about the use of audit software. Now we have what we call CATs. This chapter is this CAT used to make me laugh because I just feel like it's just an active effort of ICAN to just put computer into this thing that we do. But yeah, we have things that we call computer assisted audit software. People that are like auditors here, you know that you have different actively softwares that you will use. But in your textbook, they divide them into two. We have test data and we have audit software. Now, you have a test data and you have a audit software. Test data is useful to test controls. So you are basically just going to try and process a transaction and see whether all the relevant internal control that the transaction should have passed through, that it passes through, just so that you confirm that yes, the internal control system of this client is still intact. While audit software is basically programs that are being used to help the auditor extract information from the client's computer system in the use of audit. However, like in the real life, that's not the way it works. I know I've worked with the Deloitte audit software before, and the way it works is that they just give you an access and they make demands on the software, and then you have to upload those required documents. They can ask for previous year FY, previous year financial statement. They can ask for board meetings. They can ask for every other level of like receipt and everything. They just put it there, and it's in a way that it stores up the information, and then year on year they are able to just go back to the records that you have uploaded on that software. But yeah, just for textbook, all these software are like programs that are being used to extract information from the computer-based information system of the clients for the use of an audit. So the audit softwares can either be interrogative or interactive. So interrogative is like they explain it like it's when you put it in the client's computer, it allows you to be able to access their files and their record so that you can extract your data. While the interactive ones are used for interrogation on the online system. So basically, how you can ask questions in real time, get responses, all your comments will be there and all of that. I don't think we've really gotten to the peak of what is possible as it relates to like audit software in Nigeria. Yeah, so we also have so interrogative programs, they can either be resident codes or embedded software. So basically, they're like, we want to do this thing in a way that it helps us to extract information. But how easy it is? There's a software that they call embedded audit facility. It is like a program that has been written that you can embed into the client's accounting system that will perform certain tasks and basically help the auditor to like gather audit evidences that he will use later in the audit. The reason why I'm laughing is because at least I've also practiced audits to a certain extent, and I've not really seen this. If anybody has seen like the actual use of embedded audit facility, they can let us know. Anybody?
But when we become auditors, then if we see we'll come and tell you.
Okay, I will have moved on. Ahead. I'm even tired. I'm thinking of resigning from teaching ICAN class. I think I'm tired. But yeah. We'll meet at the top. Always rooting for all of you. Okay, for example, account analysis, like now software can be used to interrogate a client's data, their general ledger, extract all the files of items above 5,000, and then you can use your audit software to Sorry. You can use your audit software to also calculate ratios, make comparison. Basically, softwares just like make the life of the auditor easier. So then, yeah, there's also I'm talking about the fact that you can also use your software to prepare your aging receivable list. Anybody that uses QuickBooks here, you can use software to generate some form of reports instead of the auditor having to like work on them from the beginning. So yeah. Mm, yeah, basically normal things. Example of an audit software. You have been put in charge of the inventory of kitchen Maggi, a wholesaler of kitchen goods. Um Kitchen Magic keeps a permanent record of their IT system and carrying out a rolling program of inventory counts to check the period for which the system is being reflected. The end of year inventory will be listed for you, showing each product, the last day of purchase, the last day of sale, the cost, the selling price, the quantity, the end of year valuation. This schedule will be available on the last day. Required, list out the tests you perform as an auditor that will assist you in auditing inventory. What are we using? What are we using to audit inventory? We already asked in this class now.
SOFP.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, basically talking about different. So another subheading we have is okay. Problems when you're using auditing software. So what are the problems? Number one, okay, sorry, my internet threw me out. So I said if they are setting up for the first time, of course, the setup cost will be relatively high. Number two, if they make like a major change in their accounting system, they will most likely need a new software. And number three, there may be problem in finding like a suitable software. This is a very real example because, like, for example, when you work in non-profit, it's hard to like find a suitable software that like understands the kind of service that you're trying to provide. They can prototype it, but a lot of times it is being programmed more towards for-profit entities. Okay, so it may be difficult to like get an accounting software that exactly meets the needs of your company. So we have two types of audits. They'll tell you auditing around the computer and auditing with the computer. So auditing around the computer, the auditor just basically puts in the information and then the audit is just garbage in, garbage out. That is auditing around the computer. Then we have auditing through the computer. This is when the auditor has a proper understanding. Where it was like the auditor, he or she is aware of like the design and implementation of the accounting system, so they have more context. So here we talk about this should be something that you should have done before now. Obtaining audit evidences for your substantive test. You guys have done audit evidence, right? As a topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when I say inspection, inquiry, I'm not speaking to myself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that when you are doing your CVOP and you are trying to get your audit procedures, this your audit evidence, maintain method of obtaining audit evidence, it becomes very useful. Do you know? Like in the process of doing arithmetical accuracy, you may have to do recalculation. Do you get me? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I personally don't understand though.
In the process of carrying out, Ogechi, if I heard you right, you said you came in late, right? And I told you to listen to the recording. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't on.
Okay, so I was saying that in the process of carrying out accuracy in your CVOPC, do you understand that? Carrying out accuracy in your CVOPC, do you understand?
Yes, I understand that part.
So I said in the process of checking for accuracy in your CVOPC, the auditor, as part when listing his audit procedures, may have to do recalculation. So recalculation is, I just saw a subhead talking about method of obtaining audit evidence. So I asked that, have you guys done audit evidence as a chapter? And you said yes. So I said, I don't want to get you confused, but one thing that you should note is that when you are trying to get your audit procedures from your CVOPC, the terminologies from these audit evidences will be coming up. That in checking mathematical accuracy, you will have to do recalculation. What is recalculation? The auditor checks the mathematical accuracy of documents or records. Do you understand now, Ogechi?
Yes, ma, I do. Thank you.
Are you sure you do?
Yeah, I do. It's just a matter of recalculating what the company or the person you're working with has presented to audit to be sure that the figures are tallies with what is given to you or what is recorded in their books of account.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what he's trying to do. But now, I didn't want to get you guys confused. Normally, another approach is to tell students that use your CVOPC, use your assertions as much as you use your audit evidence, like method of obtaining audit evidence. The two of them will give you your audit procedures. But I realize that that confuses students sometimes. So it is way easier to stick to your word CVOPC. But a smart student will know that, okay, if what's the best way to check mathematical accuracy? They've already given me what they computed. How do I confirm that what they computed is correct? Is only through what? Recalculation. How do I confirm that the PPE schedule that was given to me is correct? Only through what? Reperformance. Do you understand what I was trying to reference? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
Okay. So in your audit evidence chapter, you must talk about the characteristic of an audit evidence, sufficiency and appropriateness, right? Sufficiency of
Yes,
audit
yes.
evidence relating to the quantity, and then appropriateness of audit evidence relating to the quality. Okay, so it came up here again where we're talking about the fact that audit evidence that you obtained from independent source outside the entity is better than the one that you were giving, especially when it is not about internal control. Internally generated audit evidence is more reliable when your internal control in that entity is effective. Audit evidence that the auditor gets as a result of him requiring audit evidence is better than the one that he was just giving. Um, Audit evidence is more reliable when it is in a documentary form. Everything that is not a document in accounting is a gist. Audit evidence is more reliable when provided as original documents than when it is photocopies or like digital formats. Okay, so that's like it's just a spool out of your normal audit evidence that you know. So here, let's talk about briefly just directional testing. So directional testing is just a framework of carrying out an audit. It's just it explains the fundamental double entry principle where they are like, if your non-current asset is overstated by 5 million, but in your trial balance, but the trial balance you're not seeing it, what are the corresponding errors that will have happened? So if your non-current asset is overstated by 5 million and it is not showing, it means that another asset may have been understated by 5 million because your asset and your liability needs to balance for your TB to balance. Number two, liabilities are also overstated by 5 million. So the 5 million and 5 million have cancelled themselves. Income is overstated by 5 million, increasing your profit. So when you added the profits to your SOFP, it balanced out. Or expenditure is understated by 5 million, increasing your profits by 5 million. So what? When you added it to your SOFP, it's what? When you added it to your retained earnings, it's what? It's balanced. So they're just basically trying to say that directional testing is just a framework that you can use for audits, and it's basically helping you to point out discrepancies that exist based off of your knowledge of proper double entry principle. So you are seeing something that, okay, this thing is wrong. If there's something wrong with my liability, but my TB is not picking it, it's because there can be something wrong with my assets, something wrong with my profits. That's why this TB is still balancing regardless. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's not really an exam question that you will get every diet. It's just one of those things. Okay. So now they said things to note. Number one, everything you do when you are doing substantive procedure is supplementary audit evidence. You are doing it because you have realized that you cannot rely on the entities like FS fully. So you need compensatory evidence to support whatever predisposition you have or opinion you are trying to raise on that financial statements. So number two is that the objective of analytical procedure is to assess whether the reports make sense, like in terms of business related facts. Does it make sense? You're trying to prove the reasonableness of the figures that have been given to you and whether there are no anomalies. So anomalies are like deviations. Okay. Moving on, according to ISA 520, evaluation of information through the analysis of plausible relationship that exists between financial and non-financial data. Okay, so what are the types of analytical procedures? Example, like I said earlier, your ratios, your trends, comparing them year on year. All those ones are what? Analytical procedures. Pam, pam, pam. Okay, what's another thing to note? The analytical procedure is in 3 stages. You plan it at the beginning when you are doing your nature, timing, and extent, which is the scope of the audits. You also do analytical procedures when you are having to carry out substantive procedures. No, you apply your analytical procedures with what? What do we call that thing? Test of detail. And it becomes what? Substantive procedure. Then at the end of your audits, you still have what you call a review. You also use what? Analytical procedures, because the person obviously does not have a long amount of time to like spend reviewing that FS. So he will just basically do what? Carry out analytical procedures, do ratios, do trend, all of that, just to confirm that the figures year on year they make financial sense. So in your exam, what will happen? An exam may ask you to carry out analytical procedures for an entity in a described small case study. The purpose of such will be to test your ability to identify unusual features, suggest what might be done to investigate the unusual figures, and basically providing solution. So they can tell you things like there's been an increase in revenue and there was a decrease in cost of sales. Why? So let me not lie. You see the analytical procedure. If you do not know double entry principle from the beginning, you will struggle, right? But ICAN focuses more on the audit procedure than even your analytical procedures. You understand? So because substantive procedures are also cover this analytical procedure. But a good student in analytical procedure is somebody that really, really understands your double entry principle. Okay, so if asset is increasing and if asset is increasing and if sales is increasing and then cost of goods sales is decreasing, okay, so you have to now sit down, you know how you do work back, things like that, but they don't really ask it as much. So they're just giving you what are the areas that they'll be tested on: payroll, other expenses, working capital. Tup, 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 tup. Okay, so let's read this further investigation. You are currently planning the audit of, do I have a class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Okay. You are currently planning this example is for analytical procedure, but let's just see it. You are currently planning the audit of Numero for the year ended 31st December 2024. You are aware that the revenue was projected to fall by 20% from last year. Following the information provided available to you, your 2013 revenue was 500,000, revenue this year was 400,000. Your cost of goods sold was 300,000 last year, and it was still 300,000, even if your revenue decreased. Your expenses last year was 50,000, but this year it has become 20,000. Your trade receivable was 30,000. This year it has become 60,000. Explain which of the following figures you might believe needs investigation and why. Why? You want to investigate your cost of goods sold because, yes, those was like to reduce by 20%. So the deduction has already been captured here. But your cost of goods sold, if we reduced our sales, cost of goods sold is cost of the production plus every other attributable cost to get it to a sellable state. So why is the figure still like that? Is it because of inflation? Are we seeing mismanagement? All those kind of things are now the things that you will capture in your management reports. Expenses have decreased greatly by over 60%. So expenses was 50,000 and then it is now 20,000. So are we seeing that we want to ask questions that what drives this reduction in expenses? Is it payroll? Is it better supplier that is charging a lesser price? Just you want to ask questions. So the thing is that when you ask questions, it's not from a point of you people are stealing, right? It's generally from a point of I am asserting that this financial statement is correct. So it's important that I understand the nitty-gritty of all the um calculations and changes that happened in this FS, so that if anybody calls me, I can respond. Then we can see their receivables. It was previously what 30,000 and it is now 60,000. This is a serious indicator to the fact that they are not attracting profitable customers and that most of their debts can get to a point where it remains what irrecoverable. So you want to ask questions like this 60,000, are they new debts or are they debts that was previously held from the last FY? Okay, so everything basically is about questions. And how can you get the right question? Put yourself, I am Chioma, I'm the auditor. What will I ask in this instance? Okay, I am the auditor. What will I ask in this instance? That's it. So let's go to the chapter that I'm supposed to pair this with, which is substantive test for other areas. So they call this substantive test for other areas because some items may not be clearly SOFP and they may not be clearly income statements, like trade payable. What else are we seeing? But even inside treating these things as not income statements or no SOFP, when you are using assertions, do you know you can get the answer for these things? Where do you capture your trade payable? Is it not in SOFP? Are you with me?
Yeah,
So,
SF.
So so we're going to look at just briefly. I don't like to come to class and read the substantive procedures to you. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help me. So this is trade payable. Then we have for accruals, provisions, and contingencies. Those ones too, they are under what? SOFP. Okay. And then we have substantive procedures for so we have for non-current liabilities, still CVOPC. Okay, for share capital, for directors' emoluments, then they do for income statement, which is what? Receivables. Receivables will use poker, right? Purchases will use poker. Yeah. So let's do an example of purchases. So I want somebody to read this for us. It's going to be a long read, but just read this. Yeah, read this one.
Is it from all purchases?
Yes. So you read it, then you will tell us where it is in poker. Yeah.
Okay. All purchase orders are recorded and
Mhm.
that the order details are correct.
Okay. What does that prove from your assertion?
For
From income statement.
yeah, sorry,
Poker.
what was the question?
Poker. Where does it fall under in your poker? Completeness.
That's
Do you get?
completeness.
Yes. Oh yeah, the second one.
All goods received were properly recorded in the inventory accounting
No.
system.
Number two. For every purchase,
For every purchase order, the goods were actually received.
what does it show to?
I feel it's still under completeness. I don't know.
But it can be under occurrence. Do you know?
Okay.
Because the goods were actually received. Your goods
Yes.
received notes show you that the transaction occurred.
Transaction
Not that
occurred.
completeness is wrong, but it is best fit for occurrence. Okay, number three.
All goods received were properly recorded in the inventory accounting system. Accuracy.
Okay, that's also what?
Accuracy, right?
No, they were properly recorded in the inventory accounting system. Completeness. So
Completeness.
completeness and accuracy, because the inventory accounting system now is now the next one that says obtain samples of the purchase order and trace them to the IT system to prove the accuracy of the recorded details. So if I just make sure that everything we receive, I record it, is completeness. But if I check that the right figure, the right pricing was being done, is now what is accuracy.
Oh,
So you
okay.
see the issue with students trying to cram the procedures. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's better to walk
Mm-hmm.
from your poker to the procedures than coming here trying to read the procedures for each of them. I hope I'm speaking to a class. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. Hey,
Yeah, I'm getting your point.
Yes, ma.
okay. Okay. So you can see read the other ones. The other ones are direct. Obtain samples of what?
Obtain a sample of copies of purchase orders and trace these to the purchasing IT system. Check the accuracy of recorded order details in the system.
So that's accuracy, Abby.
Accuracy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, next one.
Obtain a sample of purchase orders in the purchasing IT system and trace this to the signed copies of the goods received notes in the stores department, that's the goods inward department.
Mhm. So other procedures, you also want to check that they've been properly entered into the payables ledger. That's the classification. You want to check that entries were made for goods that were actually received and recorded in the original correct supplier's account. This one is showing you occurrence. Okay. Obtain a sample of purchase invoices. Make sure that they agree with the purchase ledger, all of that. So what I'm trying to say is that even if you don't write this exact thing and you use poker to outline what the procedure should be, you will still be correct. Because by the time you take the poker one by one and use it to ask questions, it leads you to the procedures. Okay? So substantive procedure, let's see for payroll. See what they have here. Checking the payroll to ensure that what? The employee exists. What does that prove? To ensure that all the employees, they exist. What does that prove? First of all, payroll, which item is this? We already said it's income statement, abi? So
Yeah,
if you want to check that all the employees that were recorded, they exist, what does it prove from your assertion? It's completeness.
weakness.
Okay, check that the gross pay has been properly calculated. What does it show?
Accuracy.
Calculation.
Arithmetic,
Calculate.
arithmetic,
Eh?
Accuracy.
arithmetic, abi is it as arithmetic, abi cannot say arithmetic. Mhm.
Accuracy.
Accuracy.
Deductions have been properly calculated. What does it show too? Accuracy.
Accuracy.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You can go on, eh? You can go on and on and on. So just list out all the items. This will always beat, this will always beat cramming audit procedures. I know that it is not easy. Let me not lie. Let me not come and bobo you here. It's not easy because you can get to the exam and then they're asking you for a substantive procedure that is not even very popular. Like, if they are asking for substantive procedure for contingency, the first problem is if you don't know what a contingency is, right? So I consider at 37, anything that is a contingent asset is called a contingent liability. A contingent asset is an asset that whether you recognize as an asset is based on the occurrence of a uncertain future event, which is not even fully under the control of the entity. So that's what contingency mean. So that now helps you to know that okay, contingency is actually an SOFP item. Yes. For example, if you have a court case and there's a 50% chance that you'll be liable for the default on that court case, and the money that they're asking for is 100 million. Based on the rule of contingency, because of the 50% chance, you're supposed to make provision for 50% of the amount that should be refunded. So that's 50 million. So if they now say, okay, do accounting procedures to confirm contingency, you know you are using CVOPC. But if you do not even know what contingency is or where it falls under in the accounting statement, you see that your problem would have just started. She gets. But I would say that majority of the times they ask popular ones. Okay? They ask popular ones. One of their favorites is payroll, cash on hand, um most times they focus on current and non-current assets a lot, prepayments, they focus on no current and non-current assets. So and a few times income statement. They do income statement, revenue, purchases, payroll, and things like that. That's actually what they focus on. So, how would I advise you to read your substantive procedure? Before we wrap it up, I've been here since 8:30, it's 10 p.m. Everybody has to get to their day. Now, Mr. Isalo most likely do 2 classes for this topic. I have done one. Just so you're not confused, start with my recording. As the class ends, maybe the day you are ready, play my recording, play Mr. Desalo's recording on the both of them. His style of teaching, all of that can be obviously different. And then pick this material. See this material I'm opening? This pick it and read the chapter like a storybook. Like the 4 chapters that talk about your your substantive tests, introduction, current assets, non-current assets, and others. Just read it like a storybook. Read it not to cram it, but just read it to be able to understand or to grasp a bit what they're just trying to say. And then go into the exam more, holding on to your what? Assertions. Either it is what? Income statement or it is SWFP. The item that you are carrying out towards the substantive testing for. Do you get?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what will happen. When we drop off the class now, I would, because I had a long day at work, ordinarily I would have sent the list of the past questions to your group like I do before the class, but I had a very long day. Sorry, I couldn't make it last week too. I already made plans, and when you guys told me to take the class, I could not just cancel up on. Last week was ICAN conference, by the way. We're in Abuja. It was really nice. So people should qualify and come for ICAN conference. Okay. So by the way, yeah, that's why I could not just come and teach you like that. However, I will list out the past questions for this chapter. From my end, you are done. But I'll just highlight the chapter allocation that me and Mr. Desalo shared. So you are done, but I will list out the past questions, and then we'll have one more class that will be like a revision. We'll just go over the topics that I taught you again. And then if you have any question on any of the topics, it can be Mr. Desalo's part, my part, we'll just take it together. Okay? So what will happen, what I like to do, because I also have a busy schedule, is to just take somebody in this class that will be responsible for fixing the date of that class. So we just need one more, because I know your exam is almost here. You're like 1 month away from your exam or even less. So somebody here should just advocate as the class captain that will say, oh, Christiana, this is a good day for us to do our revision class to sum up everything that you have taught us. If you have questions, we'll ask you. If you have questions for us, you also ask us. So who is going to take that responsibility? It's good to assume leadership. So who? Silence. I don't like silence. Anybody? Because if you leave it to me, it may not happen. Not because I don't want to, but because of my timing.
Okay, ma, no problem.
Okay. Okay, Chi, I don't know why I struggle to hear you, but I want to believe that you were saying that you would be the one to just say this is a good time. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I hope this was a good class. This class is usually confusing, and it's even not just at this stage, even when you get to AAA, people still struggle with this, but holding on to that hack is actually something that will save you at least a whole lot of stress because you have other courses that you are reading and all of that. So in the absence of any question, I will just call it a day so that I can quickly send you guys the past question.